Welcome back to Thursday Spiritual Matters here at the Daily Huddle. I'm your host, Dr. Monikah Ogando. I'm so excited that we're here today because we're going to be continuing our power series. And today we're talking about the power of our words, darling. The power of our words. And I have a quote for you. And the quote is a very simple phrase that you probably have heard before. And the phrase is in ancient Sanskrit. The phrase is Abra-Kadabra, where we get the modern Abra-Kadabra. And the implication of saying Abra-Kadabra is like, poof, it's just magic. But the actual meaning of the phrase is, I create as I speak. We're going to be talking about the power of words today. Welcome to the Daily Huddle. Welcome, everybody. Thursday, Spiritual Matters. We're going to be talking about the power of words today. Let's get centered in. Tara, you're outside and it looks beautiful. Where are you? What are you thankful for?
I am. You can hear birds are singing and I am right here with you all. And did you ask me what I'm grateful for?
Yes.
I think I'm going to have to be today very grateful for nature.
Amen. I'm right there with you, sister. Absolutely. That's awesome. Okay. And Rashida, how are you? And who are you hugging today?
Good morning. Oh, I'm going to hug today. And I am blessed and not stressed and highly favored. And I'm going to hug myself. And also a favorite tree that I have in my backyard. I'm going to hug. Thank you.
Oh, how cool. Okay. I don't have a favorite tree. You're stretching my relationship capabilities. I'm gonna have to go out there in the yard and be like, okay, which one of y'all is my favorite? I love it. Thank you so much for being here, all of you. I want to talk about the power of words today. The power of words. Now, I realize that when we talk about the power of words in the Daily Huddle community, you're kind of singing to the choir. I get that. But I want to nerd out with you a little bit on this. Are you okay if I nerd out with you? Okay, because listen, in preparation for today's chat, I was doing some research about the power of words, and it turns out that there is science of vibration and of sound which triggers certain emotional responses in our hormonal system and in our brain chemistry circuitry. I did not know that. But this explains why. This is kind of like a chicken or the egg kind of conversation. This explains why in certain languages, in certain cultures, there are no words for certain things. And in other cultures, there are plenty of words for others. So for example, in the Inuit culture, indigenous to Alaska, for example, they have 24 words, different distinctions, different nuances for the word snow. Whereas in my existence, I could like to even do without the word. I don't even need it. That's how much I don't like snow. And in the Chinese language, they don't have a word for love. They use the word respect, they use the word honor, they use the word commitment. They do not have a word for love. However, in Romance languages, such as Spanish, French, Portuguese, Italian, etc., we have several words for love. In Spanish, for example, amor, cariño, querer, deseo. We have a lot of words for love. So why am I bringing this up? Because to the extent that we use sounds to create words, and then we write them down according to the alphabet of the time, it could be hieroglyphics or it could be, other symbols. We are accessing a particular way of being in our own consciousness. And this is where I want to talk to you about the chicken and the egg kind of conversation, because does the way of being happen first and then we derive a word from it to express it, to explain it, to kind of give it a concept that we can share? Or does the word happen and then we get a feeling from it? Because I create as I speak. You get where I'm going with this? I tend to think, you tell me what you think, but I tend to think that it is a symbiotic relationship, that one feeds into the other, that I create as I speak and I speak as I create, that I have a way of being and I try to articulate that and explain that in a way that somebody else can get it. And this is one of the ways in which human beings create connection. Let me tell you my experience, you share your experience, which is what we're doing right now. And so out of my experience and out of my beingness, I articulate that into words, and then those words feed into my experience, which is why when somebody asks you to describe how you are, this is why one of the things that we do here in the Daily Huddle community is I am the way that I say that I am. And today I am XYZ, whatever you're choosing, right? Because you're actually creating as you are describing that way of being. My nerdy spidey feelings are because do you know what this means? This means that I can use a different word. And when I use a different word, I create a different experience. What? Say more. Say more. I want to talk about how I can create a different experience just by using different words. Now, you could use this power for nefarious means or nefarious purposes. Some of us call it toxic positivity. Some of us call it spiritual bypassing, etc., where you use words was like, that's not how it feels. That's not what's going on. We're not going to talk about when somebody just shanked you in your stomach. We're not going to talk about, oh, my friend, because that doesn't feel very friendly, right? So there's an opportunity to use words to, yes, describe how you're being and describe where you're going, right? I don't know if I'm making any sense. I'm not implying, I'm not suggesting that we ignore or that we gloss over by using the power of words, that we gloss over whatever it is that we're experiencing. On the contrary, I'm saying describe it in such an articulate or such an accurate way that from there you can create a different possibility. That you don't abscond the responsibility of creating just because you're describing. One is a lagging indicator, one is a leading indicator of your own experience. So I want to open it up to see what you guys think, because listen, doing this research in linguistics and in words and in the power of sound and vibration, it just blew my mind. It just opened up a world that I didn't know was, how deep we can go with this, especially here in the Daily Huddle community. So what has been your experience with the power of words? Have you been able to shift reality by using the power of words, or has someone else opened up possibilities for you by using their words in a way that's like, oh, I never considered that. Maybe it's happened right here. Chase, what you got? Hi, you're muted though. I can't hear you. Where's your audio? Where's your audio?
Me? Yes, no, maybe.
There we go. Now we can hear you. Yes.
Words, yeah. I grew up with a wordsmith father who would use very interesting words that I still remember from childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually now I'm using a lot of words too. I mean, I love words. I use them all the time, and you know, just little subtle things like, you know, such and such didn't end. It was just moved out of the way for something to open up to something else. Like just reworking a lot of words. And I find I do that with my friends a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they say like, I just tried everything. I can't do it. I'm like, you tried everything? And they'll look at me and I'll say, you didn't try everything.
Mm-hmm.
You tried enough stuff until you were frustrated. It's a little different. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I know, you know, like stuff like that. And it really does shift the words around. And I always tell my friends, don't say try. Leave that word away. Don't ever say that word. I tried. I'm like, oh, you tried. Okay. Someone told me a long time ago that trying was failing with honor. And that messed me up. It messed me up. I'm telling you, it messed me up.
Failing with honor.
Failing with honor. What? I didn't fail. Well, you tried, right? Okay. Well, you gave it a shot then. And they looked at me like really funny. And I was like, wow.
I like it.
Okay. So yeah, the words make a difference to me. And I make sure that I don't mess with that. Like I go in with the best of words. I forget what the percentage is, but out of the however many thousands of words that we have in the English language, we use like half of them or a quarter of them. And I was like, wow,
right.
That's incredible. So they mean a lot to me, and I choose my words carefully. And it's always nice to be around beautiful wordsmiths like yourself, because you use a lot of colorful words that I've even written down some of the words that you've used. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, you're so welcome. That's fantastic. Yeah, I think that there's such a symbiotic relationship between reality and the words that we use to describe it. When I was in high school, let me give you guys a little secret. When I was in high school and part of college, I fashioned myself a bit of a poet. Yes. And I remember writing a poem when I said, poets are idolaters. And the reason I said that is because I was saying that because we have such love of words, right? But words are really just a makeshift idol meant to represent something else. Words are representations of something else. The word love isn't love. It just represents the thing that it's describing, right? But we fall so in love with the words that we're using. And it's like, yeah, but that's not the thing itself, though, you see. So that's where I was going with that poem. But when you're 18, you know, what can you do? Carmen, you got something?
Yes. Beautiful, beautiful topic. Because for me, words have the more divine power. Because I think that what we said become our reality. I always have think on that.
Sure.
Yeah, that's why I always like to choose beautiful words for me, for people, for even when I talk to the bird, the tree, we need to know what we are saying, because whatever we say, what we have in our mind is what we express. And then choose beautiful, powerful word. And that's why we pass our day, depending on the word that you say, that's the same thing that's gonna happen in your day.
Right.
We prefer to have beautiful word, expecting the best, no matter what happens during the day. That's why I think.
Yeah, awesome. Great, thank you. That's a great addition, because part of it is, I love what you said about using words even to speak to the trees. I was like, oh, you talk to trees and birds? Okay, all right. Because hey, they're always talking to us. They're talking to us through their chirping. They're talking to us through their, or, you know, just talking in general. Maybe not to us necessarily. Let me not center myself in their reality, but you know what I mean? Like there's always some level of communication with nature, and I love that. Rashida, you got something?
Oh, do I have something? I always have something, and always good something. Thank you so much, Dr. Ogando, for the great way to start this. And why it is that I said is because it's funny, because when we talk, people listen to us.
Mm-hmm.
And why I say this is because I can relate to it, because I have a 10-year-old granddaughter,
Okay.
and she was dance recital this week. And she said, "Oh, Nana, come, let me talk to you, Nana. Give me some positive word." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, I'm a little nervous." I said, "Oh, those little butterflies, they would always come. They would always come and interfere with with things that you want to do in life. But when they come to you, just get rid of them. They are not your friend, okay?" And she was so attentive to what I was saying to her. And when she finished the recital, she said, "Nana, I killed the butterfly."
What?
So it's amazing to see that little thing that you tell people or tell anyone, but encounter, you just have to be positive. When you wake up in the morning, I'm going to have a positive day. I'm going to have a productive day.
Mm-hmm.
In spite of everything,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have a productive day. And that's how I wake up every morning, with a lot of gratitude and a lot of moving forward, and keep it going. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for the topic. Very powerful
Absolutely.
topic.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're in the middle of June, and soon we're going to have Father's Day. It's a little tender for me because my father passed away 18 months ago or so. And it's going to be my second Father's Day without him. So he's been heavy on my mind lately. And a friend of mine, I remember, actually Sorrel, right after the time when he passed away, Sorrel and I had an opportunity to be in the car driving somewhere. I don't remember what it was, but we were driving somewhere. We had a chance to just kind of like sit in communion, right? And he asked me, "What do you remember most about your dad?" And I just started spewing off different little memories and stuff, some funny, some tender. But the thing that I'm remembering now, specifically around the theme of the power of words, is that there are some things that my father said to me about me, or to my sister about her, etc., that it wasn't just so much the words that he used, but also that he said it like it's just a foregone conclusion. It is just a matter of fact. This is just what is. And so I believed him. My father used to always speak into how intelligent I was, or how resourceful my sister was, or funny that I use daughter, right? Because it's like, okay, past life bleed through. And so there was this idea of like, oh, okay, that's what I am then. And we can use the power of words, particularly with children. You mentioned your 10-year-old granddaughter, Rashida, that when you're in that sponge phase of the human life cycle, 0 to 7, when we're just like downloading and accepting everything, your subconscious doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. So it just takes on everything. If somebody says to you during your downloadable phase, money, is scarce, you believe it. Or you're beautiful, you believe it. You're smart, you believe it. You ain't gonna be worth nothing, you believe it. It doesn't matter what the word is, you believe it in your downloadable phase. So much so that when contrary evidence comes later, you're like, nah, you can't even see it. You can't even see it, right? So it's been like just always inculcated into me and into my brother and sister that we're smart people. So whenever there was a challenge happening, it was like, oh, I mean, I just have to put my smarts into it. Like I just have to, solving it is not beyond me, because it was fed into me that I had the capability, that I had the smarts, that I had the resources, that I had the know-how, that I had the ingenuity, You got this. I don't have to worry about you. Were the words that my mom and my dad used to use for us when we were little. So the idea that something difficult would come to me, it's like, yeah, of course. Hard things only come to people who can handle hard things. That's why I don't have Beyonce's life. I can't handle Beyonce's life, so I don't have Beyonce's life. right? But I could do hard things. How do I know? Because I've done hard things, right? So I'm not intimidated by that, right? And so I challenge you. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I challenge you to examine the things that were said to you about you during your downloadable phase of life. 0 to 7 is usually the average time of that. And see if there are some things that you can just put away. Because some stuff doesn't serve us. And that they were said to you during your downloadable phase doesn't make them true. They just happen to sneak in there at the time when they could stick. You see what I'm saying? So it isn't true. It goes both ways, right? It's not true that you're not smart or that you are smart. That you believe it makes it so. And then you go get evidence. And one of the things that I love about the way in which we are wired is that the conscious mind chooses and executes, but the subconscious mind just absorbs. And it does not know the difference between quote unquote real and quote unquote imagined. It does not know the difference. So I can imagine myself in my subconscious being something that I desire to be, even though I don't have any quote unquote evidence that that is what I am. And then my subconscious will go find evidence for that. That's why the power of your questions are so important. Sometimes we ask ourselves questions like, man, why can't I get anything right? Why doesn't things work? Why always something gotta go wrong? And then your subconscious is like, let me tell you why. Here's some data. Here's more evidence, right? But if you change your question, why is it so easy for me to get money? Why is it so easy for me to lose weight? Why is it so easy for me to get things done? I always have enough time for what I need. Why is that? The subconscious is like, let me tell you why. Data, evidence. Because you inputted a different question, you used a different word and a different come from and a different tone. And so it returned in its kind. Yeah, if you feed it frustration, it'll give you evidence of frustration. So I just think that's as close to magic as we're gonna get. No wonder that we have associated abracadabra with magic, because it does feel like it's just coming out of nowhere. It's not, it's coming out of consciousness. What do you say to that? Who wants to play with me on this? Laura says, my subconscious will always give me the answer. Yeah, to the question you ask it, absolutely.
What did you say that abracadabra actually translates to mean again?
It means I create as I speak.
Okay, I love that. I love that. I love this topic because, as you know, I'm a writer and a speaker and a wordsmith.
Yes.
And I have learned that we have to be available and open to delighting in words, or they just dust over us, like you said, as potentially as toxic positivity or just without much thought.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm really in a place to delight over words, I can taste them, I can hear them, I can feel them, but it takes attention. And I wonder if that is true for any of you.
It takes attention. Yes. Yes. I would agree with that. That's also been my experience. And wait, let me ask you this first, Tara. Tara, do you speak more than one language?
No.
Just English? Okay. Because I think that speaking more than one language also adds some texture to that experience as well. For example, the word love in English is just love. In fact, we use it for even inanimate things. I love chocolate. I love this car. I love what you just said, right? Whereas in Spanish, we have different distinctions for that. Me gusta lo que dijiste. I like what you said, right? Or I love my dad. Oh, how am I doing this thing? Okay, all right.
Hilarious.
That's hilarious.
If I
Did
could
it just
do that.
copy me? Oh man, I'm a little freaked out by AI right now. So I love chocolate. You know, I might say me gusta el chocolate. I may not say I love it. Yo no amo el chocolate. I just me gusta, right? And so yes, to your point about it takes attention, because even when we are, using it in different contexts, even when you're using the same language, but in different contexts, or when you're using multiple languages, you can see those nuances and you can see how like the very thing that you're describing or the very experience that you're living into changes because of the words that you use. It's just really
As a matter of fact, I have an amazing example of exactly what you're saying. My son's girlfriend is from Venezuela, and she does not speak English. And we text, and you know how there's a translator that comes through. And it's always, always so magical to see how the words are translated.
Yeah.
I get the message, but there are words that we so oftentimes words that we would not use.
This kind of reminds me, there's a quote, you know, that I've been a student and a teacher of A Course in Miracles for many, many years. Started studying it in 2007 and started teaching it in 2010. And there is a section in A Course in Miracles that speaks to words. It says, words will mean little now. We use them but as guides on which we do not now depend. For now we seek direct experience of truth alone. The lessons that remain are merely guides to guide us towards the end, towards which our practicing, something like that, I'm paraphrasing, towards which our practicing was always geared. And when I remember that passage, when I remember that quote, it makes me think, man, isn't that what life is all about, right? We have this idea, this concept of what we want to live and what we want to experience, but ultimately we're seeking direct experience of truth alone. We want the experience itself. I don't want to talk about love and think that because I can describe it well, that I can live it well. There's a difference between the both, yeah? And sometimes the direct experience of truth alone transcends the words. We have all had some experience where it's like, I can't even begin to tell you. Even if I could, it falls short, you know? So that's such an amazing dance that we do with the words and creating the experience and describing the experience, and then just letting the experience be as big as it is without needing to encapsulate it. Thank you for that, Tara. I love that. Who else has something? Let me see. Oh, Ron. Hi, Ron.
Hey guys. I just like that the fact that you bridge this to whether somebody's speaking another language, because one thing I really want to bring is the fact when people want to drive a point, like sometimes people say, excuse my French, so if like there's always I'm thinking two things, the intonation and sometimes the injection of another language into what you're saying.
Oh, yes.
Drive the point, deeper. It's not so much the what you're saying could be plain and simple.
Right.
But the intonation and also the intonation and really pulling or a vowel, from another pool, a language really help drive the, what you're saying. I mean, you've seen it a lot in writing. I've seen it a lot in writing and in normal expression, even on stage. So that's a very frequent thing, and words are definitely powerful. Yeah, I remember hearing things, one way, and the same thing, using a synonym really make a complete different reaction in me. So
sure.
That's definitely a great topic, and it can be pretty interesting.
Yes. Oh my gosh, we can totally nerd out on this because, words change throughout history as well. And they change based on culture, based on geography. That's why you say soda up north, but you say pop down south for the same thing, right? In the same language. And so there are things that we describe and that we share. This is why diversity is so important, because you get exposed to different ways of being, even just by being exposed to different languages and different cultures and so forth. So Thank you so much for playing with me today on the power of words. I really appreciate the fact that I can bring you my nerding out moments and play with you in them. So remember always to love, to laugh, to give generously, to move your body, to stress less, to eat more plant-based foods, to always, as always, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Always audit your assumptions. Thank you so much for being here with us. See you next time.
One love, guys. One love.
Feliz día. Happy day for everybody.
Igual, igual.